18 protesters arrested on Wednesday await their fate tomorrow. This as the government seeks guidance from parents, religious leaders, and community elders to steer the younger generation. We will tell you the reason behind this call, but first, the highlights.
Tunataka kuwashukuru wananchi wote. Tumejua mmesimama na sisi. Hata saa hii msimame na sisi tu. Sababu hatuna njia, hatuna mwelekeo, tunashindwa ni wapi, tuko confused.
Mask vendors slow death and shared pain. Boniface Kariuki succumbs to brain injuries inflicted through a close-range police bullet shot to his head.
Ndiangui is not under the custody of the National Police Service. He is a person of interest to us, and wherever he is, I will urge that he submits himself and that he surrenders to the nearest police station.
Where is Ndiangui? The big question, as top detective Amin Mohammed says blogger Ndiangui Kinyagia is not in the custody of the DCI. Ears on the ground. Opposition brigade storms Narok for what they call a mission to listen to the ground. Not negotiable. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki says the government will not trade off the country's stability for political popularity. Good evening. It is a cold evening in the capital, but we want to warmly welcome you to Prime Edition. My name is Muchuma Odim. My colleague Tom Boyer is away this evening. Our sign language expert in this bulletin is Lensa Odingo. Let's interact on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on X, Facebook, and YouTube. On to our lead story tonight. 22-year-old mask vendor Boniface Kariuki, who was shot at close range during the June 17th demonstration in Nairobi, is dead. According to Jonah Kariuki Nyambura, his son passed on earlier today at around 3:15 p.m. He had been in the ICU at Kenyatta National Hospital since June 17th when he was shot in the city center. During his stay at the hospital, Kariuki accumulated a bill of 3.6 million shillings, which the family says they cannot afford to pay. Timothy Kipnusu begins our coverage tonight with this report.
After days of back and forth at the Kenyatta National Hospital, following the shooting of the Akin in Nairobi streets during the 17th June protest, the family of mask vendor Boniface Kariuki were dealt a blow today with the news of the death of the Akin 22-year-old Boniface Kariuki. After fighting for his life for 13 days at intensive care unit at Kenyatta National Hospital, Kariuki breathed his last at 3:15 p.m. Monday. Eunice Kirago, Boniface's grandmother, says just yesterday the hospital said that he was brain dead. Over the last 13 days that Boniface was in the hospital, he has accumulated a hospital bill of over 3 million shillings. The family, however, faults the hospital, saying they expected the communication of their son's death yesterday and did not see the point in waiting for that communication today.
Tukiangalia hivyo, walikuwa wakijua tu Boni was normal, lakini sijui kwa nini they were fearing to say it. Yesterday wangetuambia vizuri that Boni is gone, instead of taking us loud, and we were expecting this. Kwa hivyo, next time, hata kama sio hivyo ni professional ya hospitali, juu walitutayarisha jana, wangetuambia tu. Juu ile kilio tutalia leo ndio tugerie tu hata jana.
They knew what is coming on. They knew what we were expecting, but they didn't want to say it. Even the very moment when we asked after the second operation, why is he not responding? They didn't say much.
The family led by Boniface's father are now demanding for justice and payment of the accumulated bill in hospital.
Yule askari ameua kijana yetu. kuanzia sasa awekwe ndani na astakiwe na manda, kwa sababu hii sio manslaughter, hii ni manda. Ameua kijana, kwa hivyo wanastahili kwanza akamatwe na awekwe ndani.
Tunataka kuwashukuru wananchi wote. Tumejua mmesimama na sisi. Hata saa hii msimame na sisi tu, sababu hatuna njia, hatuna mwelekeo, tunashindwa ni wapi, tuko confused.
They revealed that Mwangi was a breadwinner of the family and his demise is a big loss to the family.
Unasikia vibaya juu tulikuwa tunasaidiana Juu saa ingine watoto wakifukuzwa shule kama mimi sina pesa, saa ingine alikuwa anarushia watoto, hata watoto wenyewe wameumia roho. Juu walikuwa msaidizi pia wao.
Timothy Kipnusu, Prime Edition.
From shared pain to news in this minute, the Ministry of Health has waived medical bills for protest victims. The breaking news this hour, the Ministry of Health has waived medical bills for protest victims. In a press release signed by Cabinet Secretary for Health, Eden Duale, the government has directed the management of Kenyatta National Hospital to waive all medical bills for patients injured during the protest and charge them to the hospital's Disaster Emergency Fund. This also includes the outstanding bill for the late Boniface Kariuki, which, according to the government, stood at 815,805 shillings at the time of his passing. News in this minute, the Ministry of Health has waived medical bills for protest victims. For details on that and much more, do log on to our website, www.kbc.co.ke. In other developments tonight, post-mortem on the bodies of two men who died during the recent Gen Z demonstrations in Emali, Makueni County, reveals that they died from gunshot injuries. According to the report, Garson Mutisia, aged 33, and Makau Maluko, aged 23, was separately killed by a bullet that penetrated through the chest, exiting from the back. The two families, while confirming the outcome of the autopsy, now want justice to be served. They want investigations into the incident to be expedited and those behind the shooting arrested. The two families are calling on well-wishers to chip in financially and help them bury their loved ones.
We are requesting the government for further investigation, and also we also demand for the justice for my brother. So I'm also requesting if there is any person who is willing to support us for the burial process, as we are still waiting for the justice of my brother, so I can just chip in and assist us.
Tumeridhika na matokeo yake, na tunaamini ya kwamba vitengo mbalimbali za uchunguzi ambazo zimekuwa hapa zitahakikisha ya kwamba haki imetendeka.
Detectives have denied holding blogger and activist Ndiangui Kinyagia, who went missing on 21st of June, urging anyone with information on his whereabouts to alert the authorities. DCI boss Amin Mohammed says Kinyagia was a person of interest for publishing a controversial program for the June 25th protests. He, however, says they have not been able to find him to record a statement. This, as he revealed, they are closing in on the finances of the June 25th destruction and will not hesitate to arrest anyone found culpable. Here is Abdiaziz Hashim with the details.
With over 20 counties still reeling from the events of June 25th, detectives say they are closing in on the planners, financiers, and orchestrators of the deadly protests that led to the demise of over 10 Kenyans.
And we are actively pursuing the key planners, and we have the names of the perpetrators.
In a brief on the events of the 25th, DCI boss Amin Mohammed denied they were holding blogger and activist Ndiangui Kinyagia, who went missing from his house in Kino, Kiambu County on June 22nd.
Ndiangui is not under the custody of the National Police Service. He is a person of interest to us, and wherever he is, I will urge that he submits himself and that he surrenders to the nearest police station.
Amin says he remains a person of interest, asking anyone with information on his whereabouts to come forward. The DCI boss further said they will not hesitate to prosecute planners of the chaos, saying as at now they had not summoned the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua for questioning.
Rigathi Gachagua does not enjoy any immunity against prosecution.
He revealed they had identified leaders behind the violence and will not hesitate to prosecute those found culpable.
If in our investigations he is found to have been involved in any criminal activity, perpetrated any criminal activity, aided or abetted any criminal activity, then appropriate action will be taken against Rigathi Gachagua.
So far, 485 suspects were arrested in connection with the chaos, of which 448 suspects have already been charged, while 37 are still under investigations.
A well-coordinated network of criminal actors infiltrated and hijacked these demonstrations.
Amin noted the said suspects are faced with numerous charges among them.
The charges range from murder, terrorism, rape, gang rape, arson, obstruction of police officers while on duty, breaking and stealing, robbery, and as well robberies with violence.
He also revealed they have recovered one firearm stolen from Kikuyu police station during the demos.
The G3 rifle that was stolen from Kikuyu police station was used in the commission of violent robberies within Naivasha police station.
It remains to be seen if blogger Ndiangui will be presented before the courts following a directive by Justice Chacha Mwita that the IG presents him at exactly 11 a.m. at the Milimani Law Courts on Tuesday. Abdiaziz Hashim from the DCI headquarters, Prime Edition.
From the DCI probe to the corridors of justice, 18 protesters arrested during Wednesday's Gen Z protest in Olkalau, Nyandarua County, will know their fate on 21 days detention tomorrow, Tuesday. This as investigating officer in the case found himself at pains to explain why a 16-year-old student was held with adults in a cell, with the magistrate ordering the minors unconditional release. Meanwhile, a Kibera Law Court will rule on Wednesday on 21 days detention for 3 activists alleged to have planned Wednesday's demonstrations. Letua Deborah with these stories in the Scales of Justice segments.
Protesters arrested during the June 25th demonstrations on Wednesday were arraigned at different law courts today. At Olkalau Law Court, an investigating officer was put to task to explain the reason for holding a minor together with adults in a cell. Principal Magistrate Judy Kastantuku ordered the release of the minor, with the 18 others being held at Oljororok Police Station, pending the ruling set for Tuesday, 1st July 2025. Defense lawyers opposed the application, arguing lack of sufficient grounds.
The court has been gracious enough. It has listened to us. It has listened to the other side. So, my request is that let people exercise all the rights that are granted in the Constitution, including Article 37 rights. Rights to picket, rights to demonstrate, as long as somebody is unarmed and is not violent.
In Kibera, 3 activists John Mulingwa Nzau, Mark Amiani, and Francis Mudunge Mwangi will remain in custody until Wednesday for a bail ruling. The DCI, who are seeking 21 days, alleges the activists use social media to plan illegal acts.
We urge you to find that the prosecution has established sufficient basis. In other words, appropriate justification for this court to order that each of the respondents is held further to enable us complete our investigations.
The defense opposes the request, calling the detention punitive and unfolded, noting no arrest warrants were issued, nor evidence of them being a flight risk presented.
I have had a laughable argument that has been made that they were caught in a bus going to Mombasa and they were fleeing. Fleeing from what? Your Honor, that paragraph of the affidavit must indicate that these individuals were called and told they were persons of interest, and because of that information, they got into a bus to flee.
In Kiambu County, 7 youths were arraigned before the Kiambu Law Court, facing criminal charges following the violent demonstrations that took place on June 25th in Kikuyu constituency. Kiambu Senior Principal Magistrate was informed that the accused are under investigations for a range of criminal offences, including arson, robbery with violence, shop breaking and theft. The court ordered the suspect be held at Kikuyu Police Station for a period of 7 days to facilitate thorough investigations. Letua Debra for Prime Edition.
The latest on court matters. To another story we highlighted for you at the beginning of this broadcast. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has faulted a section of leaders, politicians and diplomats who seemingly celebrated the destruction and mayhem witnessed during last week's demonstrations. Kindiki has warned that national security is not negotiable and the government will not trade off the stability and security of the country for political popularity. Here is this report.
The second in command was in Mitaboni, Kathiani, Machakos County for his continued empowerment forums. It is here that Kindiki lashed out at leaders who he alleges seek to milk political capital from the mayhem witnessed last Wednesday during the Gen Z demonstrations.
Hiyo sio demokrasia. Hiyo ni fujo. There is a difference between democracy and anarchy. Democracy ni kujieleza. Democracy ni mtu kusema mimi natofautiana na serikali ama kukosoa serikali useme hii jambo la ufisadi, ili jambo hatutaki, na kuandamana na kujieleza.
Ni lazima tutengeneze sheria ambayo itatuelekeza vile tutafanya peaceful and unarmed processions and protests in our country.
Kindiki says the government remains resolute on the protection of national security, even if it would occasion a political risk.
We don't mind if our popularity is affected by protecting Kenya. But we cannot step back and leave this country to anarchists and those people who don't believe in the peaceful resolution of national problems.
He further faulted a section of diplomats whom he says appeared to support the mayhem, saying government will not negotiate where acts of lawlessness are witnessed.
Kwa hivyo hata nchi zingine ambao wanatuhubiria hapa kwao ni wakali sana. Ikifika mambo ya usalama wa taifa hakuna mjadala. Wanasema sawa, muko na uhuru wa kujieleza, lakini lazima muwe na amani.
On the call by stakeholders to convene a national dialogue to discuss the Gen Z grievances, Professor Kindiki says the government has not shut its doors.
I am here to confirm to you, we are taking that input very seriously. We are listening and we are going to reform as much as we can to make sure we align the governance of this country with the interest of the public, including our young people.
Rais wa Kenya amesema hatuwezi kuacha constituency yote nyuma, whether ilipigia yeye kura ama kupiga, tutasonga sisi sote pamoja.
Msikubali kuambiwa na mtu muende maandamano.
John Jacob Kuria, Prime Edition.
Glad you're watching Prime Edition. We are taking our first commercial break, but we'll be back with more, including business and sports, with the detail and clarity you deserve. Stay with us.
The government of Kenya has launched an ambitious initiative aimed at elevating Nairobi's global standing as a premier investment destination. At the heart of this vision is the development of the Nairobi Railway City.
A railway city will be defined by multiple forms of transport offering commuters convenience, safety, and speed. The time has come, over a century later, to write a new story of Kenya's historic progress on the tracks.
The Nairobi Railway City project is set to position Kenya as a regional, integrated, green, and inclusive urban city.
Semana Spokes. Semana Spokes is a bold, enlightening television show that offers Kenyans a direct line to the heart of government operations. Hosted by the government spokesman, Isaac Mwaura. Welcome to Semana Spokes Bonga Gava.
This weekly program features candid conversations with senior government officials, cabinet secretaries, and heads of key parastatals as they break down their ministry's achievements, challenges, and strategic plans.
Cage aquaculture farming, yes. 8.7 billion.
Yes.
So there's a lot of money.
There's a lot of, and we have not even tapped the potential.
As we get closer to start constructing the first nuclear program, we should have a robust regulatory framework.
Thank you, the spokesperson, for this chance, where we are able to converse with our government.
Semana Spokes.
Hii sio story ya jaba. Sio story ya jaba. Mimi ni Mkenya mzalendo daima. Thank you.
Tuesday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Live from Broadcasting House, Nairobi, Kenya. This is KBC English Service.
Welcome to Beat Time Show, the very best of the 80s and 90s with me, John Korani, JK.
Timeless music hits across the decades.
This is the place to be after you've had a tough day. Here we celebrate love and life.
Don't believe me, just watch. The sound of KBC English Service.
I'm your host, Caroline Wangishi, Carol Gatata Moshero.
My name is Geoffrey Mongai B.
News, information and entertainment. KBC English Service, Kenya's official national radio.
Welcome back to Prime Edition. Continue talking to us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on X, Facebook, and YouTube. The opposition now say the government is insensitive to the struggles facing ordinary Kenyans. The leaders have now vowed to rally all Kenyans of goodwill in a charm offensive ahead of the 2027 elections. The opposition leaders spoke in Narok Town in a bid to consolidate their support bases while also penetrating new territories as they craft what they claim to be a winning ticket for the 2027 general election. Khalid Abdullahi reports.
Speaking in Narok Town during a Meet the People, two opposition leaders, DCP Party Leader Rigathi Gachagua, Wiper Movement Leader Kalonzo Musyoka, DAP Leader Eugene Wamalwa, and PLP's Martha Karua have accused the government of being out of touch with the day-to-day struggles of ordinary Kenyans.
Akadabo mafuta kutoka 8% hadi 16%. Nauli kutoka Narok hadi Nairobi ilipanda haikupanda. Gharama ya maisha hapa Narok ilipanda haikupanda. Hapa Narok madawa za hospitali ziko kiasi gapi? Na umeona wiki mbili mulisikia juzi waziri wa afya Enda Duale akisema dawa ya shilingi bilioni 90 ati imeozea kwa magala.
The leaders are now urging the government to listen to the concerns of Kenyans. They have also warned against harassment of opposition leaders in the country. Gachagua now says the opposition is working to consolidate its support bases while also penetrating new regions in what he calls a mission to build a strong and inclusive political force.
Hatuta
hatutamruhusu kamwe kukeuka katiba ya Kenya.
The opposition's tour is expected to continue across several counties as they seek to build momentum for their 2027 political agenda.
That report was compiled by Khalid Abdullahi and voiced by Timothy Kipnusu. Now, from Narok to an impeachment in Isiolo, Isiolo Governor Abdi Guyo's impeachment will be heard in plenary after the Senate failed to approve a motion to form a special committee to investigate the charges. The motion moved by Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale on behalf of the Senate Majority Leader sought to establish an 11-member select committee. However, it collapsed after Kilifi Senator Stewart Madzayo, who was to second, objected the motion, prompting Speaker Amason Kingi to direct that the matter proceed before the full House. Here is that report.
Hassan, do solemnly swear.
Isiolo Governor Abdi Guyo will now face the Senate plenary in a high-stakes impeachment hearing after efforts to form a special committee to investigate allegations against him collapsed on the floor of the House.
Pursuant to Standing Order 48.3, received a message from the Speaker of the County Assembly of Isiolo regarding the passage by the County Assembly of a motion for removal from office by way of impeachment of Honorable Abdi Ibrahim Hassan, the Governor of Isiolo County pursuant.
The Senate was forced to abandon the committee route after a motion by the Senate leader of the majority party, Aaron Cheriot, presented by Senate Whip Boni Khalwale failed. This is after the second Kilifi Senator Stewart Madzayo objected, prompting the Speaker to direct that the matter be handled by all senators.
Members, you are either choosing that we form a committee or we go to plenary. I want to appeal to you to weigh on this very important issue, because the country has a lot of confidence in us. They should see that we have given the governor of Isiolo the best opportunity to be heard as this decision is made.
Mimi napinga hoja hii ya kwenda kwa njia ya kamati.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Nataka kwa hiyo hoja hii mimi naipinga vikali sana na sikubaliani nayo.
Having been negatived, the route of special committee is abandoned, and that implies that the Senate will investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Abdi Ibrahim Hassan, the Governor of Isiolo County, in plenary, pursuant to Section 33(3)(a) of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 81(b)(2). The Senate shall then investigate the matter in plenary on Tuesday, the 8th of July, and Wednesday, the 9th of July, 2025.
Kingi further directed that the clerk sends the invite for parties to appear by the 1st of July and file responses by the 4th of July. The clerk was also directed to circulate documents received and the plenary program to senators by 5 p.m. on the 7th day of July, ahead of the commencement of the investigations and the determination of the matter on the 8th and the 9th of July 2025. Governor Guyo was impeached by Isiolo County Assembly on the grounds of gross misconduct, abuse of office, and violation of the Constitution. The charges include the irregular appointment of 36 advisors and 31 chief officers, failure to renew contracts for key county officials, and alleged mismanagement of public resources, leading to stalled development projects.
Appointing chief officers under 2-year contracts, thereby creating a climate of fear and uncertainty contrary to Articles 73(1)(b) of the Constitution, and failing to renew the contracts of County Executive Committee members, significantly affecting the continuity of service delivery in the county. And 4, appointing 2 deputy county secretaries to positions that are neither recognized in law nor provided for in the county staff establishment.
The Senate proceedings come amid legal uncertainty after the High Court nullified the impeachment vote, citing contempt of an earlier order barring the process. For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mungai.
The government is turning to parents, religious leaders and elders to guide the younger generation to exercise restraint and embrace peaceful, constructive ways of demanding accountability from the government. Interior Principal Secretary Dr. Raymond Omolo has called on senior members of the society to be more active in the lives of the youth and help them nurture a steadfast respect for institutions and systems which are the foundation of mature and civilized democracies.
And going forward, I would want to ask all the leaders and every Kenyan who may want to participate in demonstration that as long as it's peaceable and unarmed, we will protect your right to demonstrate. But the moment you go outside what the Constitution provides, you must also be ready to face the consequences as the Constitution so dictates.
Back to health matters, the government has published a list of hundreds of health facilities which were closed due to non-compliance with the set standard of healthcare provision. The Ministry of Health has tonight revealed that Nairobi had 376 facilities shut, while Kisii had 120, with Wajir and Nyamira having 79 each. Health Cabinet Secretary Eden Duale has, in the meantime, confirmed that investigators are zeroing in on 31 facilities in 12 counties for allegedly defrauding the Social Health Authority, as compiled by Joseph Wahungu.
In a statement, the Ministry of Health on Monday revealed that hundreds of health centers and clinics were closed by the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council. The facilities were mainly found not to have been duly registered. The list of the closed hospitals in Nairobi, Wajir, Nyamira and Kisii counties was made public a day after Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale announced the closure of 728 non-compliant health facilities countrywide, most of them linked with fraud while operating under the defunct National Health Insurance Fund.
Cases of fraud where there are double claims, cases where outpatients have been turned into inpatients, cases where doctors' pre-authorization code has been used for fraud, cases where patients have colluded with the health facility owners. We have detected all that.
Speaking on Monday, Duale insisted that the government has largely enhanced transparency through the implementation of digital systems under the Social Health Authority.
And I want to tell health facilities, there are many which are good, both public, private and faith-based. But those who are used to the former NHIF, I want to tell them it is not going to be business as usual.
Meanwhile, in a move aimed at boosting workforce capacity, the CS announced the posting of 6,484 healthcare interns, with letters already available at Afya House. Duale also confirmed the enrollment of 24 million Kenyans and over 5.4 million accessing care at no cost under Primary Health Care Fund.
A day where more than 6,000 interns have been posted. It's the first time in the history, by the way, to have more than 1,700 doctors posted to the hospitals. So this is a big landmark and it's an indication that these doctors will go there motivated because they're going to be paid as per the CBA that was signed in 2017.
Joseph Wahungu for Prime Edition.
Let's stay with health matters. Health stakeholders are now calling for concerted efforts to enhance the access of self-injectable contraceptives, citing the significant increase of their uptake in the country. According to the In Supply Health Organization, the country has recorded a 19% increase in the consumption of the self-care family planning method since the year 2017. The uptake has been attributed to its discreet convenience and effectiveness.
As Kenya gears up to increase modern contraceptive prevalence from the current 58% to 64% by 2030, in line with its Family Planning 2030 global commitments, stakeholders in the health sector have highlighted the growth in popularity of self-care methods as a sustainable pathway to expanding access to family planning in the country.
When we began back in 2017, the uptake of self-injection was less than 1% in the country. But through the interventions we've had on capacity building, on enabling policy environment, on demand generation across the years, currently we are at about 20% of uptake for self-injection.
Now, the self-injection offers women of reproductive age that choice. I can be able to inject in the confines of my home.
Speaking during the closeout of the Access Collaborative 3.0 project in Nairobi, the players led by the In-Supply Health Organization supplying chain manager Johnson Anyona specifically highlighted the increased uptake of DMPA-SC. The subcutaneous injectable contraceptive allows women to self-administer at home, giving them the freedom of choice and access.
This injectable, first of all, is administered subcutaneously. So the previous one that was there was the intramuscular one, but now this is a new method that comes that the client themselves can be able to administer at their own convenience.
To maintain the momentum, the players highlighted the importance of expanding access through channels such as private pharmacies and non-traditional service points.
The discreetness of it, the convenience of it, and also the fact that due to client retention, I'm able to still talk to my healthcare provider as I administer or if I see any untoward effects that I need to get reported. So it is a plus.
I'm calling upon also the retail pharmacy providers to take this on board to be able to offer additional expanded family planning services outside of the condoms and pills which they've typically done.
They also called on the national and county governments to increase funding for family planning services and especially innovative self-care solutions.
We are looking forward to work with our partners to get the trainings across the country so that the plan is not to convert women of reproductive age into self-injectors, but to provide them with a choice of whether they would want to go with the self-injection, the 3-month, or to have other methods as would be available in the health facilities.
John Kahiro, Prime Edition.
African countries have been challenged to invest in local climate adaptation strategies that will help curb the rampant climate shocks being witnessed. Speaking during the second edition of the Resilient Africa Summit in Nairobi, the climate proponents argued that more priority and funds have been directed to climate mitigation as opposed to adaptation, hence vulnerable countries continue to be hard hit by the impacts of climate change.
Climate scientists, religious leaders and delegates across the globe gathered for the second edition of Resilient Africa Summit in Nairobi. It is here that Environment, Forestry and Climate Change Committee Chair Wilbur Otichilo acknowledged strides made in the climate space.
It's about time that we started looking inward as a continent in ways that we can resolve those issues ourselves. If we're talking about funding, our governments have enough funding.
Counties, we took a decision that we cannot wait for finances to come, which are not coming. So we have agreed as Council of Governors to mainstream, first of all, climate change in all the sectors of our economy.
Religious leaders highlighted the importance of climate scientists collaborating with them to demystify faith and science.
Faith and science are complementary endeavors to get in front of the most challenging obstacles.
So organizing this event over here is just to stimulate this interest that we need to move from being stewards of creation to become carers to even care of creation.
We know that the strength of science has to be the foundation of how we look at the social and economic opportunities ahead, of how we work together to work and deal and scale the solutions.
Thriving climate resilient nations shared best practices for resilience to climate change, extreme weather impact, and water systems.
Cleaner energy generation, including decarbonizing of our electricity grid. We spend a lot of money intentionally to do that, improving the energy efficiency of building and transport, and transitioning away from older carbon-intensive industries.
The two-day summit is expected to spotlight key areas that will form part of the discussion this year in COP30 in Brazil and culminate at the final Vatican summit in 2026. These include resilience practices from African cities and regions, innovative climate finance for local governments, scientific breakthroughs and policy innovations, disaster recovery and future preparedness. Opicho Chemtai for Prime Edition.
On to our Monday segment, the cabinet. Gilbert Mbinjewe held 4 ministerial positions across 2 presidential regimes, and he is our focus tonight, as told by Ben Troinjue.
Gilbert Kabere Mbinjiwe, who was born in 1926, joined elective politics in the 1974 general election when he won the Meru Central Parliamentary seat, which would later in 1986 be renamed South Imenti Constituency. Prior to that, Mbinjiwe, armed with a bachelor's degree in agriculture from the University of Reading in the United Kingdom, had worked as a land consolidation officer in the Ministry of Agriculture and later became a planning officer in the same ministry before resigning to join private sector. Mbinjiwe was appointed Minister for Tourism and later held same capacity in Agriculture, Energy and Health ministries. During his tenure at the Agriculture Ministry, he oversaw proposals to establish irrigation projects in some dry parts of the country through the National Irrigation Board. One such project was the Mitungo Irrigation Scheme at the boundary of Meru and Tharaka Nithi counties, which was key in addressing food security in the area. Mbinjiwe is also credited with initiating water projects and the Meru College of Technology, now Meru University of Science and Technology. He was re-elected as an MP in 1983 and appointed Minister for Health, where he was credited with expanding health facilities in the country. He was later transferred to head the Ministry of Energy. Mbinjiwe's name was adversely mentioned in the Miller Commission of Inquiry set up in 1984 by President Moi to investigate the conduct of Minister for Constitutional Affairs Charles Njonjo. This led to a demand in Parliament that Mbinjiwe resign from his position, but President Moi defended him. Also in Parliament, he was accused of receiving a bribe during his time as Minister for Health, though these accusations proved false. During the 1988 general election, he won the newly created South Imenti parliamentary seat and was appointed Assistant Minister for Research, Science and Technology. He lost the seat in 1992 to the Forum for Restoration of Democracy Ford Kenya candidate Kiraitu Moronge. Mbinjiwe retired to his rural home and led a quiet life until his death in November 2017. For the Cabinet, I'm Ben Troinjue.
It starts with little moments of courage. To stepping out into the new world with confidence. Taking leaps of faith. Spreading your wings and soaring to new heights. Your mother's love, is with you wherever you go. Stay soft. Nothing lasts like mom's love.
Hello, fabulous ladies. Welcome to the talk show that's all about sisterhood, empowerment, and unfiltered conversation. We will be focusing on women. We believe in women.
We are really changing.
We are creating a safe space for women to connect, thrive, and share.
Just because you're a woman on a bike, you're labeled in a certain way.
It's not just a talk show, it's a movement.
When they are standing, we need to stand out.
From heartwarming tales to hilarious adventures.
They could ask me, Catherine, why are you learning?
We are turning the spotlight on women who are breaking barriers in the individual fields.
You have to have a vision. You are the leaders of Kenya today.
Keeping it honest and relatable.
Mental health is real.
Yes.
Where there is no communication, there is no relationship.
Join the sisterhood on KBC TV for Dada's Show.
Well, thank you for staying with us. We continue with the day's news and we look at the business segment and where President William Ruto is urging United Nations member states to support ongoing reforms in the international financial system to make it fairer and more efficient. Speaking at the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development in Spain, Ruto said there is need for consensus on development-oriented sovereign debt framework where public debt becomes a tool for growth rather than a trap for debt distress.
President William Ruto has called on United Nations members to support the outcome document of the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development being held in Seville, Spain. President Ruto said the document lays the groundwork for renewed commitment to multilateralism and equitable growth.
It is imperative to have debt sustainability and credit assessments that are accurate, objective, and long-term oriented.
The president called for consensus on international financial system reforms to make it fairer and more efficient. Credit rating agencies have been advised to revise their approach in evaluating African economies.
There is now consensus on the need for a development-oriented sovereign debt architecture, where public debt is an instrument for development, not a trap for distress.
Leaders emphasized on the importance of effective debt management and crisis prevention, including transparency, responsible borrowing and lending, and accurate, objective, and long-term credit assessment.
What we've tried to do over the last couple of years is respond with a set of reforms aimed at one simple goal. And this is the word that Bob used, be a better partner to our private sector and government clients. So, for example, we've cut project approval times by a third, from 19 to 13 months, with some projects now getting approved in under 30 days.
These developing countries are walking a tightrope between defaulting on debts, defaulting on their efforts to achieve sustainable development, and defaulting on the promise to provide acceptable standards of living to their people. The consequences are serious.
The president called for governance reforms of the International Monetary Fund to ensure easier access to precautionary instruments, lower lending rates, and improve utilization of special drawing rights. Benson Rioba, reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, Kenya Airways is looking to lock in a strategic investor by the end of 2025. Now, Kenya Airways Chief Executive Officer Alan Kilavuka says an investor would help the airline grow its fleet from 60 aircraft by 2030 to overcome capacity challenges.
Since the beginning of 2024, the national carrier has been seeking a strategic investor as a financing option to expand its fleet and operations across its network. This has not been forthcoming, even as challenges such as undercapitalization, bottlenecks in manufacturing, rising costs of materials, changing regulations, and regional conflicts continue to ravage the aviation sector.
If I'm flying 5 times into your country, into your destination, you also 5 flight times. Of course, you can fly more, but on an understanding. Unfortunately, and this is historical in Kenya, that has not been implemented effectively, so that you find that there is a big imbalance, particularly where Kenya Airways is concerned.
KQ Chief Executive Alan Kilavuka says having a strategic investor on board means the airline will have more capital to invest in supporting its operations, even as 3 of its 9 Boeing 787 Dreamliners remain grounded. The grounded birds are due for engine maintenance, but have to wait the manufacturer's backlog to clear.
So we have not stopped. We're informally engaging potential investors. And once the formal process starts, it will be easier and hopefully faster for us to move forward.
We are proactively booked slots in GE. However, the turnaround times, which increased significantly due to the supply chain, this really hurt all the airlines, including Kenya Airways. So the grounding was for the engine overhaul. It was not for any mistake or fault with the aircraft.
The airline is also looking for more airline partners to join the Pan-African Airlines, a new airline concept that was originally proposed as a joint venture between Kenya Airways and South African Airways.
We've already registered the organization and waiting now to fill it in. I mentioned earlier that we wanted to start with South African Airways, but they told us that they wanted to slow down on that. So we've already started informal discussions with other African carriers who would come in.
To escape the yoke of undercapitalization in Kenya's aviation sector, industry players say more needs to be done in terms of policy support and capital injection. Alan Oko, Prime Edition.
Now to Kiambu County, where a pig farming program launched 8 months ago by Kiambu Governor Kimani Wamatangi is now showing results, with beneficiaries in Gatondo North celebrating the successful multiplication of livestock. In Mangu Ward, Gatondo North, farmers who received a piglet through the county's Seed Capital Initiative are now reaping rewards, with each sow producing up to 9 piglets. Now, the program, which has so far benefited over 5,000 men and youth, is also linking farmers to markets through partnership with organizations like Farmers' Choice.
Stand farming and get support for that farming. Then we give them the piglets. They go and start in their groups. You give them one in a group of 20. Then they go team up together. They have got 20 piglets, and now they will start rearing them, grow them, multiply them. They are a trading group.
Naona future yangu kama in 5 years time itakuwa mbali sana, juu kama saa hii nguruwe ishapata watoto kama 9, na nitaendelea kuiluza vizuri na kulea hawa watoto, ndo nikuwe na lengo la kuwa na nguruwe mingi.
Tunataka vijana wakuje kwa groups. Yes. Nguruwe zao sikikomaa, tunaleta wale watu wa Farmers Choice wanawanunulia. Kwa hivyo soko iko ready.
Well, that marks the end of business news tonight. But before I go, have you filed your taxes? If you have not, the Kenya Revenue Authority has extended the tax return deadline by 24 hours. So you have until tomorrow at midnight to have filed your taxes. My name is Wairi Mujenga, and that's where I put a cap on tonight's business news. Have a good night.
Are you a talented artist, or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with our music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Women's Africa Cup of Nations, Morocco.
Feel the pulse of a continent.
where Africa's fiercest women warriors clash for glory in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations 2024. Africa's top teams, one crown. Morocco hosts once more, ready to etch new legends into history. Rising stars, one stage to shine.
And it is the Cup of Queens. They have been waiting for this moment. Here's a chance for a second. South African lead by 2-0 in this final, and he'll never higher.
This is more than football, it's African excellence. It's women's power. Don't miss WAFCON 2024, live from Morocco.
Hello and welcome to Prime Edition Sports this Monday evening. I'm Bernard Okumu. The International Sports Centre Moi Kasarani Stadium has officially been handed over to the 2024 African Nations Championship CHAN Local Organizing Committee following the completion of the renovation works ahead of the Continental Showpiece slated for this August. Sports Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya said that the focus will now shift to preparations for the national soccer team, Harambee Stars.
Nyayo National Stadium in Kasarani will go down in history as the first stadiums in Kenya to host the 2024 Africa Nations Championship. The stadiums, which have been undergoing a facelift, are now complete. On Monday afternoon, the Sports Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya handed over the Kasarani Stadium to the CHAN 2024 Local Organizing Committee.
Kenya tumepata heshima kubwa. Kwamba ndio tutaandaa ile mchezo ule wa mwisho kabisa, finali. Kwa hivyo leo tutapokea funguo ya kiwanja hii kama ishara ya kwamba sasa kazi hapa imekamilika.
Mvurya confirmed that Nyayo Stadium will be complete in 2 weeks' time as the renovations work for the perimeter wall are almost complete.
Hayo kuna kwa sababu kulikuwa na additional recommendations tujenge ukuta. Imebaki sehemu ya siku 2 hiyo ukuta imalizike, na ukuta iko nje ya ground, basically kuimarisha tu usalama, lakini ndani ya kiwanja hakuna kazi ambayo imebaki.
The 2024 African Nations Championship CHAN will be jointly hosted by Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania from the 2nd to 30th of August this year. Kenya is preparing to make its debut in the championship, pegged on Group A alongside Zambia, Morocco, Angola and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Frederick Moki for Prime Edition.
And thank you, Moki, for that story. Of course, all the Group A matches which Kenya belongs to will be played at Moi Kasarani. Also, at the same time, Salim Mvurya has urged the youth to exploit the diverse opportunities offered by the government to economically empower themselves and grow their potential in different fields. Salim Mvurya was speaking on Monday at Kasiini village during the groundbreaking 55 million shillings Yatta Constituency Sports Academy.
Terming the Yatta Constituency Sports Academy as a game changer in the development and growth of sporting talents in the region, CS Mvurya said growing the youth talent in Kenya has become a top priority for the government in sporting sector.
Huu ni mradi ambao tunautengeneza ili vijana wenu wa hapa tuweze kuzitambua talanta zao katika umri wa chini, ndio tuendelee kuziboresha na wao wawe ni vijana ambao wanaweza kutambuliwa ulimwenguni.
The Yatta Sports Academy is one of 37 academies at the heart of government's agenda, targeted to spur and grow talents in Kenya in phase 1 of the construction project at a cost of 1.7 billion shillings. The academy is a strategic intervention by the government to give a chance to all sporting talents across the country.
And the village is Kasiki in Yatta constituency, and to athletics, where 24 athletes who will participate in the 5,000 meters women's and 10,000 meters men's trials for the World Championship will leave the country tomorrow night for the United States, where they'll take part in the Prefontaine Classic, the 9th meeting of the Diamond League.
The team will compete at the Prefontaine Classic on the 5th of next month, which Athletics Kenya will use to select its athletes for the World Championship set for Tokyo, Japan in September this year.
The main determinant was, of course, those who have met the standards, especially in the 10,000 meters for men. So we chose that, and then those who have not met the standard were given opportunity also to go and run, and the choice was because of their performance. We chose the next 6 according to their performance and also the criteria used by World Athletics. So this is done professionally so that nobody is left out.
Meanwhile, 36 athletes are set to report to residential training camp on Wednesday this week in Nairobi in preparation for the Africa Under-18 and Under-20 Championship set for late July in Nigeria.
We expect also good results from Nigeria. The team that has been selected to manage, they are capable. We have Ilobi, we have Elizabeth Keitanj, and the other officials that will be going with that team. So I think I'm not worried about that, but you can see now how busy Athletics Kenya is. We have done all the best to make sure that we promote sports and athletics. And when we have done that, you can see that we are continuously busy. We don't even have a minute to rest, but that's the way it should be.
The team was selected in Nakuru a fortnight ago and is set to train for 2 weeks before their departure to Abeokuta, Nigeria from the 16th to 20th July. Kenya finished second in both the Under-18 and Under-20 Championship in 2023 in Ndola, Zambia.
And Kenyan tennis prodigy and East Africa Under-16 champion Nancy Kawera got off to a flying start in the ITF J30 Tour, securing a dominant 6-1, 6-3 victory over India's Vishmasri Duraka. The tournament, which kicked off today at the Nairobi club, ends on Saturday.
The International Tennis Federation J30 Tour, which brings together players under the age of 18 aiming to boost their world rankings, got underway Monday morning at the Nairobi Tennis Club. Kenya's sensational talent and East Africa Under-16 champion Nancy Kawera continued her impressive form with a straight-set victory of 6-1, 6-3 over India's Vishmasri Duraka.
There's been a bit of progress, but I think we can do better in terms of, because we've been here at Nairobi Club for about 100 years. We don't have a lot of tennis facilities, so we could do better on infrastructure.
Meanwhile, fellow Kenyan Evans Mundia made his international debut but fell 6-love, 6-love to ride Rizvi of Sri Lanka.
I was prepared quite well, but not that much. My opponent was quite more experienced than me.
17 Kenyan players are taking part in the J30 Tour, which is being used to improve their rankings in the ITF, as the finals are slated to be held this Saturday. Reporting for Prime Edition Sports from Nairobi Sports Club, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
And across the borders now, where Serie A giants Inter Milan will face Brazilian side Fluminense tonight in the FIFA Club World Cup Last 16 match at the Bank of America Stadium, with the quarter-final place at stake. At dawn tomorrow, Manchester City will meet Al Hilal at the Camping World Stadium, also looking to secure a place in the quarter-finals of the revamped tournament. And now PSG and Bayern, who meet in the quarters, have already sealed their quarter-final places with last 16 wins over Inter Miami and Flamengo, respectively.
PSG delivered a dominant performance to end Miami's fairy tale run, with man of the match João Neves scoring in the 6th and 39th minute. Thomas Aviles scored a third goal in the 44th minute, while Achraf Hakimi sealed the win. Despite their historic group stage success, including a notable win over Porto, Inter Miami struggled to match PSG's intensity. Lionel Messi had a few chances but was largely contained by the French giant. PSG now advanced to face Bayern Munich, who defeated Flamengo 4-2 in a thrilling encounter on Sunday. Harry Kane scored twice for Bayern as Vincent Kompany's side overcame fierce resistance from the Brazilian side to secure their quarter-final spot. The much-anticipated clash between Bayern and PSG is set for Saturday in Atlanta, with a place in the semi-final at stake.
Well, and that's how we put a cap on tonight's Sports on Prime edition. But it is time for me to hand over to Muchuma Odim to bring the cap on the Bulletin. I'm Bernardo Kumu. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Bernardo Kochokumu, for the sports bits. Earlier on, we had Wairi Munjenga with the business news. and our apologies for that. We don't take your viewership for granted. We do appreciate your feedback on our social media platforms. Quick acknowledgement, Justice Mutonu, you're reacting to our story number 1 on the death of the mask vendor, saying, may God give comfort to the family. Mwangi wa Muriuki, you're appreciating tonight's coverage, saying the news was balanced. And quick acknowledgements, Patrick Maina, Mike Bon Hunter, Emmanuel Mchocho, Calvin Wangwe, and the list could go on and on and on. Thank you so much for your company, and thank you for your feedback on our social media platforms. I am Muchuma Odim. Our sign language expert tonight is Lensa Odinga. Good night. God bless you.
Live from Broadcasting House, Nairobi, Kenya. This is KBC English Service.
Welcome to Beat Time Show, the very best of the 80s and 90s with me, John Korani, JK.
Timeless music hits across the decades.
This is the place to be after you've had a tough day. Here we celebrate love and life.
Just watch. The sound of KBC English Service.
I'm your host Caroline Wangishi, Karo Gatata Mushero.
My name is Geoffrey Mongai. News, information and entertainment. KBC English Service, Kenya's official national radio.
Nini utanipa kizunguzungu, suka chini.
Nilidhani kila kitu iko sawa, lakini wapi? Hey!
Unamaanisha nini? Mimi najua nasikiaga nimekuchokesha sana. Lakini ni muda tu kidogo imebaki, kidogo sana. Mimi nitakufa. Mtanizika mnisahau.
What if what we had is broken? What if we are broken?
What if you're the only ones who can fix each other?
Sifurahishwi na hiyo uhusiano wenyu mko nao na Jenny. Hata kidogo.
Oh, come on. Jenny is 21 years and above.